There are times in one's existence when you grasp that the true adversary isn't external circumstances, but rather one's own untamed thoughts. Recently, I experienced this firsthand, submerged in apprehension, sidetracked by clamor, and perpetually torn between responsibility and aspiration. Consequently, I paused all activities and allocated 7 days, a single week, to recalibrate my existence using the one philosophy I believed could anchor me in actuality: Stoicism, through 6 straightforward practices, timeless, potent, and uncompromisingly distinct. And within merely 7 days, these practices did more than enhance my life. They fundamentally reshaped it. What follows is not an uplifting talk, but rather a practical guide for recovering your time, concentration, vitality, and, in the end, your own being. Allow me to introduce the habits that made all the difference. First, the initial triumph, mastering the early hours. The primary shift commences with the daybreak, not initiated by an inspirational saying, nor by a cup of coffee, but by asserting control. Each day, I get up before sunrise, without any phone, external stimuli, or technological interference, solely mindfulness. The initial 10 minutes of my day are currently dedicated to quiet reflection, repeating a single inquiry from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This query set the context for all subsequent actions. Prior to the day's demands encroaching, I had already secured a victory. When many were still caught in a cycle of reactivity, I had opted for lucidity, self-control, and purpose. Merely awakening is insufficient. One must truly be present, intellectually, effectively, and spiritually. That is the genuine wake-up call. Second, substituting clamor with structure. Disturbance is not solely from without. It originates from within as well. Therefore, the second practice involved thorough mental cleansing. I eliminated the disorder: emails, alerts, ceaseless articles, and viewpoints. I muted every one of them. Instead, I focused on a single page from Meditations, one guiding tenet, nothing more. My reading was not for acquiring a sense of wisdom, but for training, for realigning my internal guidance system towards essential virtues: courage, reason, temperance, justice. As Seneca penned, we suffer more frequently in imagination than in reality. This is precisely what contemporary existence thrives upon: perceived hardship masquerading as information. Within a single week, the mental cloudiness started to dissipate. I felt neither inundated nor sidetracked. I was serene. Third, unyielding physical regimen. The physique serves the intellect, yet it can also assume control if not kept in check. Thus, I incorporated deliberate physical challenges into my daily routine. Exposure to cold water, periods of fasting, intentional tiredness, not as a display, but to regain command over my urges. The Stoics were not indulgent. They did not pursue opulence, but rather challenged themselves consistently. For how can one endure life's tempests if unable to bear minor discomforts voluntarily? During that week, I encountered opposition, not merely as an outward trial, but also as an inner frailty, and I conquered it, through ceremony, through strength, through resolve, not via inspiration, but through recurrence. Fourth, the practice of time accountability. Every daybreak, I reiterated this to myself. Time is not a guarantee, it is a loan. We behave as though we possess boundless future days, disregarding that every 24 hours represents a permanent deduction from our life's balance. Consequently, I began to regard time as the precious resource it genuinely is. No longer did I make ambiguous schedules or delay for the opportune time. Daily, I questioned, what am I accomplishing with the time allotted to me today? Does it align with the individual I aspire to be? This endeavor was not solely focused on output. It concerned coherence, ensuring my deeds corresponded with my principles. Seneca cautioned, "It is not that we have a brief time to live, but that we squander a great deal of it." And his observation was accurate. Within a mere week, this alteration rendered my choices more acute, my concentration more refined. I ceased attempting to merely occupy time and began to cherish it. Once you cease regarding time as expendable, you cease to live as if you yourself are expendable. Fifth, the nightly review. Each evening I convened a session with my own conscience, free from interruptions, devoid of clamor, simply a personal assessment. What actions today merited esteem? What actions necessitate amendment? This process was not about culpability or self-chastisement, it was about framework. The Stoics undertook introspection much like a soldier surveys a battlefield, with composure, exactitude, and unmarred by emotion obscuring discernment. And in a matter of days, the obscurity started to clear. I began to perceive what had previously been invisible to me: the minor concessions, the nuanced falsehoods I entertained, the areas of conflict between my current self and my aspired self. This review unveiled my time bandits, aimless browsing instead of concentration, impulsive responses instead of logical thought. It pinpointed the instances where my self-control faltered, where my principles had not yet fully directed my conduct. Crucially, however, it fostered congruence. I was no longer aimlessly wandering, I was purposefully navigating. Every evening, I substituted conjecture with certainty, self-delusion with self-mastery, and mirage with understanding. This single practice did not merely alter my week, it reconfigured my whole life's path. Lastly, I engaged in deliberate quietude, not as a means of evasion, but as a method of refinement. During each social exchange, I questioned, is this statement necessary? Is it necessary at this moment? Is it necessary for me to utter it? Predominantly, the response was negative, leading me to communicate less and attend more. I ceased transmitting my own thoughts widely and began to pay closer attention. I discovered that self-control is not an action, but rather power in its most developed state. Zeno, the originator of Stoicism, advised, "We possess 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we ought to listen doubly as much as we articulate." As the week concluded, I was not only more conscious, but also more esteemed, for quietude garners notice more effectively than clamor ever can. These 6 practices, over 1 week, resulted in an enduring transformation, not due to altering my external environment, but because I modified the connection I had with my own intellect, my allocation of time, my physical being, and my awareness of finitude. The external world is turbulent. You cannot govern it, yet you can govern your readiness. And this is the offering of Stoicism, a consistent discipline structure for maintaining self-respect amidst chaos. These practices are not suited for the faint-hearted. They are for the individual who is finished with pretense, with affectation, with aimlessness, for the one prepared to reconnect with their true self. Should you attempt nothing else, endeavor this for a single week. 6 practices without concession. Allow the world to remain tumultuous, you will stand firm.